Welcome, dear listener. Tonight, allow your mind to wander into the realm of mystery and myth, a place where history, folklore, and imagination weave together. A place where one of the most iconic figures in human storytelling was born, the Grim Reaper. He is a figure we all recognize, a cloaked skeleton carrying a scythe, walking silently at the edge of every life. But he was not always so. The Grim Reaper has a story of his own, birth not from flesh, but from centuries of human thought, from fear, from art, and from the eternal desire to give shape to the unseen. Close your eyes now. Feel the slow rhythm of your breathing. As you drift into stillness, let this tale unfold not as something frightening, but as something timeless, comforting, and deeply human. Chapter 1. Death before the Reaper, before the Grim Reaper took shape. Death was a faceless mystery. In the earliest civilizations, people did not see death as a skeleton, nor as a cloaked figure, but as a god, a realm, or a force. In Mesopotamia, death belonged to the underworld goddess, Ereshkigal, who ruled a shadowy land beneath the earth. The dead passed into her domain, where they lived in silence, drinking dust instead of wine, far removed from the joys of life. The Egyptians believed in Osiris, the god of the afterlife. Death was a passage, a judgment, and a hope for rebirth. Mummification was their way of preserving the body for eternity, proof that death was not the end, but a transformation. In ancient Greece, Thanatos was the spirit of peaceful death, often depicted as a winged youth, gentle and quiet, unlike the violent deaths that came through war or plague. His Roman counterpart, Mors, carried the same essence. Death in these times was not a skeleton, it was a spirit, a guide, or a divine judge. But still, something was missing. People wanted to see more, to give the unknown a face they could recognize, something that stood equal to the power of life itself. Chapter 2. Death personified in early cultures in the north. The Norse spoke of Hel, the daughter of Loki, who ruled over the realm of the dead. She was half alive, half corpse, a chilling reminder that death is both part of life and separate from it. In Hindu traditions, Yama, the god of death, was seen as both judge and guide, weighing the deeds of souls. He often rode a buffalo, carrying a rope to lead spirits into the afterlife. From Africa to Asia, death was never faceless. In many cultures, death was imagined as a person, a being, something that could walk, speak, and guide. And yet, none of these early figures looked like the skeleton we know today. That transformation would come centuries later, born not in myth alone, but in history through suffering, art, and the human need to explain catastrophe. Chapter 3. The Black Death and the Skeleton. The 14th century. Europe trembled under the weight of the Black Death. It began with whispers. Ships bringing cargo also carried sickness. Within days, towns fell silent except for the tolling of funeral bells. Entire villages emptied. Families buried loved ones only to fall ill themselves. Death was no longer a distant god or gentle spirit. It was everywhere. It was visible. Artists and storytellers began to imagine death in a new way. not as a king or god, but as a skeleton, the inevitable remains of every human being. Flesh rotted, beauty decayed, but bones endured. From this came the haunting images of the Danse Macabre, the dance of death. Murals and woodcuts showed skeletons leading processions of kings, priests, merchants, and peasants all dancing hand in hand, for none could escape their final fate. It was in these years of plague that death shed its gentler faces. He became skeletal, impartial, unyielding, and soon he would be given tools, clothing, and a name. Chapter 4. The Scythe, Harvest of Souls. Why a scythe? The answer is both simple and profound. The Middle Ages were deeply tied to the rhythm of the land. Farmers reaped wheat in great fields, gathering the harvest when the time was right. In art and poetry, this became the perfect metaphor. Life was like grain growing, ripening, and then cut down at its appointed season. Death, then, was the harvester, and his tool was the scythe. With one sweep, the scythe could cut many stalks at once, just as plagues and wars cut down many lives. It was not a weapon of cruelty, but of inevitability. The reaper's scythe did not kill. It simply gathered. This image spread quickly, and by the late Middle Ages, the scythe was inseparable from the figure of death. Chapter 5. The Cloak and Hood, Death in Disguise. The next piece of the reaper's image was his cloak. Black was the color of mourning. At funerals, mourners dressed in long black robes, symbolizing humility before the grave. Monks, too, often wore hoods as they prayed for the dying, their faces hidden in shadow. When artists cloaked the skeleton in these same robes, something powerful emerged. The hood gave the figure secrecy. Death could be anywhere, watching silently, face concealed. The cloak gave him dignity, turning bare bones into a solemn traveler, wrapped in black with scythe in hand. The reaper was no longer a nameless skeleton. He was a presence, a messenger, a guide. Chapter 6. The Reaper Across Time and Lands. By the 15th and 16th centuries, the Grim Reaper had become a fixture of European imagination, but variations of him appeared across the world. In Mexico, the figure of Santa Muerte, Holy Death, became a beloved protector, worshipped with candles, offerings, and prayers. She was not feared, but revered. In Japan, Shinigami, or death gods, guided souls to their resting place, whispering when the time of death had come. In Slavic folklore, skeletal figures carried sickles and appeared in fields, reminding farmers of the fragility of life. Everywhere, the reaper was familiar, sometimes a monster, sometimes a saint, but always a reminder of the truth no one could escape. Chapter 7. The Reaper as Companion, Not Enemy. The Grim Reaper was born, but his story is not one of cruelty. It is one of balance. To some, he is frightening, but to others, he is simply the guide who helps souls cross from one shore to another. Like the ferryman on the river Styx, he leads us to the next chapter. Like the farmer in the field, he gathers what has reached its season. His face is not meant to terrify, but to remind us life is precious because it is temporary. Each moment matters because the Reaper walks beside us unseen, reminding us to live fully before the final harvest. So, when you picture the Grim Reaper, cloaked and skeletal, scythe in hand, remember this: he is not a monster of nightmares, but a creation of humanity's imagination, a figure shaped by centuries of myth, plague, and art. He is the guardian of life's balance, ensuring that the circle continues: birth, growth, death, and renewal. And tonight, as you rest, let the image of the Reaper become not something to fear, but something to accept. A quiet companion who walks the same road as all of us, ensuring that nothing is ever truly lost and transformed. Now breathe deeply. Let your body grow heavy and slip into sleep with the calm knowledge that life and death are part of the same great story.